Hey folks, welcome to the weekly Wednesday live stream. We're loaded for bear as far as space weather stuff goes because we're going back into geomagnetic storm conditions, folks. Check it out, geomagnetic unrest, KP4. We're seeing some spikes in the power grid. So indict me in the comments section if you like. We'll be citing facts to the best of our ability. So yeah, seeing some spikes in the geoelectric grid there. We already sent out email to the Smash team about this, so if you haven't signed up for email alerts, you're invited to check out the Smash team site. Of course, we are live streaming to there, as you may have come to appreciate. And yeah, so smashomash.com/Smash team is where you want to get those email alerts from. If you're relying on certain social media sites for your notifications that we've put up a video, that could be fraught with problems. So thanks to everybody who's already left comments, and if you're lurking there in the shadows of the chat, please leave a comment. Thanks to everybody who already has. I will get to those here momentarily. So again, we've got geomagnetic unrest going on, and the NOAA broadcast came out. The NOAA alert came out for geomagnetic storm KP5 expected. So an unexpected uptick there in space weather showing up, forecasted by, I think, exactly nobody, including me. So cheers. So that's the situation as far as the North Americas and so forth. So before I continue, first, thanks to everybody who's left a comment so far, picking up some merch, or by joining the Smash team. Yes. So, yep, no audio glitch on this side. It's just because of internet connection problems. The audio is working perfectly, actually. So, but thanks for bringing that to our attention, Occult 45. So yeah, unexpected geomagnetic storm conditions here, and we're not going to worry about it too much, but check it out. If it continues, we may see some aurora in the mid-Atlantic states. So there's significant ground magnetic perturbations showing up there on the map. Exciting and unexpected stuff for space weather. Now, these Wednesday videos, these typically are not about space weather, but hey, I figured I'd bring that up since the majority of our channel content is space-based. In fact, you can see how based I am. My shirt is full of space. Check it out. It's like 2001: A Space Odyssey. His shirt is full of stars. Yes. All right, yeah, so shout out to all of our viewers. Thanks for tuning into the channel. Thanks for realizing the Smash News Network least busted name in news exists. And of course, we've been producing the world's most comprehensive daily space weather content for over 6 years now. And it has been an interesting 6 years, to say the least. What's happened here, the reason that I'm in the process of composing a publication to explain the solar sunspot cycles, is I got questions. I got answers to questions not asked. So, answers to questions not asked. It was very strange. And that is how science can be. Very strange. The Smash News Network logo was melting my head. So yeah, indict me in the comments if you like, although I am squeaky clean. Did you know I even have a government security clearance? Yeah, I've got a government security clearance, folks. A lot of people convinced me. I mean, I've been convinced. I shouldn't say a lot of people, but I've been not convinced. I've been accused, actually, of being a CIA shill. And if I am a CIA shill, I am the lowest paid shill in the history of shilling. So you can look into my eyes when I tell you that I've never been on a payroll associated with taxpayer dollars. It's all private money, baby. It's all private money. I've collected unemployment a few times. That's the closest I've ever come to being employed by any government, security apparatus, police force, executive branch department, etc. Never worked for the government. Probably never will, but I was offered a job with the TSA. That's why I have a security clearance. In order to get a TSA job, you've got to know something about the technology, and that itself requires a security clearance. So those don't get revoked, by the way, unless you go to a hearing and they're revoked for cause. So if you know anybody who's hiring, drop me a line. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'll even drop the LinkedIn link in the chat. If you ever feel like reading my professional resume or anything like that, you'll have access. So, and I'm considering all kinds of different industries right now, everything from project management to marketing and sales and things like graphic design stuff. And so, yeah, I'm rarely on the market, and currently I am very on the market. So that should not cause these videos to cease to exist. But at this point, it's all about the bottom line, folks. So anyway, there's my LinkedIn right in the chat. And yeah, so it's what's the X-ray profile been like here? I haven't really been looking. I've been pretty busy today, so check it out. Continued M-class flares jumping off. So it has been a major uptick there in solar flaring activity. And let's take a brief look at that new sunspot. Is it showing any new fields yet? Let's find out. I only see one umbra so far. That is only an alpha class sunspot. Oops, that's Earth. So since we're on weather stuff here at the moment, and by the way, if you have any news stories you'd like me to comment on, I'll consider it. I might refuse, but I'll consider it. Let's bring up a satellite image. Let's bring up a rare visible satellite image here of the U.S. This way our viewers can point out where all the HARP bases and chemtrails are located. And I can explain why you wouldn't be able to see that on this map. Shall we? Oh, this is going to be a good one. Because we've got a bunch of huge pressure gradients happening. So there'll be a lot of people across the U.S. posting images of chemtrails today. It's, yeah, there are a lot of spots where there are the type of pressure gradients that you would expect. So it's, it makes me want to go on Twitter and look up the hashtag chembombs. Have you seen the hashtag chembombs? This is when people see cumulus clouds and they claim those are man-made also. It's... Don't quit your day job and apply for a meteorology position, because it would All right, so let's see here. I'm going to go search for some news stories to see if there are any breaking news stories. While I'm doing that, hopefully that imagery will continue to stay animated, but it won't. It won't. How dare you? All right, so I'm going to go check on breaking news headlines here, regardless of whether it shows an animation there. Looks like there's a replacement for our Lord and Savior, Dr. Fauci. Yes, a replacement for Dr. Fauci. Are you excited? Those are some tiny shoes to fill. Tiny, tiny shoes. Dr. Fauci, he's a unicellular organism, I've heard. I'd like to see a sumo wrestling match between Tony Fauci. I refuse to put doctor in front of his title. Tony Fauci versus Robert Reich. What do you think? Robert Reich versus Tony Fauci. I think that would be a good opening cage match for Zuck versus Musk. Zuck versus Musk. By the way, who do you think will win Zuck versus Musk if they do decide to duke it out? Ooh, Zuck versus Musk. Isn't that exciting? I mean, who wouldn't pay to see that? So I won't be putting up a photograph of Fauci's face. Actually, I will put up a photograph of Fauci's face. Here it is. It's on our Redbubble shop. Because we've got some products that feature Fauci. So since Fauci's in the news, let's feature the product that features Fauci. There are actually two different things. Let's put up how about the Fauci committed fraud? Are you accountable product? That's pretty good. That was the first one we put up. And here's a fun fact for you. I have my right foot right now on Fauci's face. Right there. The Fauci face of evil bath mat, it's right there. My foot is right on Fauci's face. So I guess I should be plugging this instead. The Fauci face of evil bath mat. I mean, you know how awesome it is to be able to step out of the shower and put your clean feet right onto the grotesquely ugly face of Tony Fauci? Dude, you have no idea how awesome it is. Check it out. There it is. The Fauci face of evil bath mat. Yes. Remember, folks, accountability always comes. Accountability always comes. There's no avoiding it. It's coming. It's coming for everybody. Even you. So, by the way, to Julie, if you're listening, I did not get around to making a new product that says, what is it supposed to say? I forget. One of our viewers had an idea for a product today, and so anyway. So yeah, replacement coming for Fauci. Alabama infectious disease expert Gene Marazzo. Gene Marazzo tapped to replace Fauci. I'm sure Dr. Gene Marazzo is an extremely progressive, diverse, and well thought out Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease chair, or whatever it is. The next director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases. Yes. So congratulations to Gene. I'm frightened. What about you? Let's put some solar images back up and get that horrifying image off of your screens. So there we go. There's some sunnier stuff. I thought Fauci was made of sterner stuff, like Optimus Prime, Octopus Prime, Octopus Crime. Optimus Prime is what I meant to say. I thought Fauci was made of sterner stuff. Just kidding, folks. He's a protist. Have you ever seen Fauci's flagella? Yeah, he's covered with cilia, but he also has a flagella. He's a flagellate. If you've ever seen a paramecium. Or what about a euglena? Not sure if Fauci comes from the euglena or paramecium family. All right, so what else do we have here? So Fauci being replaced by Gene Marazzo to lead the NIAID, a now non-trusted entity, I guess, by a lot of people. And who could blame them? Who could blame them? They were disallowed to perform gain-of-function research in the U.S. back in 2008, I think it was. Obama banned gain-of-function research in the U.S. because here's an amazing thing, folks. Did you know that gain-of-function research could cause an outbreak of an illness like the Kung Flu? Yeah, and so what they did is they decided to go build it in Wuhan, China. What could possibly go wrong? They're very responsible there. It's a great vacation spot. You know, back in March of 2020, I actually told the boss that I'd spent the weekend in Wuhan, China. You know, the State Department said to cancel the vacation, and I was like, hell no, I've got a hotel booked already. So did a quick weekend trip to Wuhan, China. And yeah, I did not require a security clearance for that. I was just kidding, folks. I didn't really go to Wuhan, China that weekend. I thought it was funny. Other people didn't. And that's on them. All right, so let's see if we've got any other interesting stories here. Trudeau is separating from his wife. That's an interesting story. Pittsburgh synagogue mass murderer will receive death penalty. Jury decides. What about a cancer-killing pill that appears to annihilate solid tumors? Now being tested on humans. That sounds like some pretty good research going on. How about them apples? That's pretty good. I hope. Pretty good, I hope. It dissolves tumors, and it turns out that it dissolves their organs, too. All right, that could be a problem. I'm just kidding, folks. Perhaps a promising new anti-cancer drug. Excited about that. All right. Also, U.S. currency. U.S. foreign currency ratings downgraded by Fitch from AA+ to AAA. So AAA might sound really good, but it's not as good as AA+. Now, regarding Fitch ratings and Standard & Poor's ratings and so on, I'm not getting into it. No. Just no. But these are essentially credit scores. Credit scores for financial institutions, this one being, well, the Federal Reserve Bank of the U.S. So U.S. Federal Reserve notes downgraded from AA+ to AAA. Now, of course, a lot of people are very concerned that some other currency is going to replace the U.S. currency, or that some other place is going to become the best place to invest, which is just absolute insanity. Now, I'm not suggesting that you should chase bubbles, right? Because the ultimate investment advice, and of course this isn't investment advice, these facts are for novelty purposes only. You want to buy low and sell high. That's sort of the, it's not exactly controversial, I suppose, to say that. And by the way, this video has been demonetized for your viewing pleasure. So if you aren't seeing ads, that's why the video was demonetized. And of course, we put the word indict, #indict, in the title for obvious algorithmic purposes. And of course, that who knows what the reason is. You never know why a video is demonetized. You just request a review of that, and then sometimes weeks later, the video typically gets determined that it is suitable for all advertisers, and monetization returns, which is not great for a live stream because it's a live stream. So, of course, YouTube tries to compete with other live streaming services, and so all of this has to go into a calculation for what we should do and when we should do it. So that's part of the reason why we decide to do this and not do that, and do the other and not the tertiary thing, because, well, it's because if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense, to quote Nate Dogg. Is that Nate Dogg? I think it's Nate Dogg. Nate Dogg from the Dog Pound. Don't you know about Dr. Dre, Snoop Doggy Dogg, the Dog Pound? Nate Dogg. That was the guy that sang the R&B tracks, I think. 'Cause if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. I don't know any more lyrics to that song. I don't listen to that stuff. R&B, that's like rap and BS. Hip-hop. Don't get it confused with rap. Do you know the difference? Can anybody tell us in the comments the difference between hip-hop and rap? Of course, I started listening to hip-hop in the early 1980s, maybe 83, something like that. I remember listening to stuff like UTFO, Roxanne, Roxanne. That was one of the big hits. Houdini's The Freaks Come Out at Night. That was another good one. Jam on It by Somebody We used to try to breakdance to the Electric Boogaloo 2 soundtrack. Yeah, Electric Boogaloo 2. That is a hot record if you want to check out some of the ridiculous songs that we used to listen to back in the early to mid 1980s. That's before the Beastie Boys even existed. The Beastie Boys. That gives you part of the definition of rap versus hip hop. They blurred the line. Beastie Boys started out as a rap group, but I'd say by their second major release, Paul's Boutique, they became a hip hop act. And then of course after that they became sort of punk rock because they were always interested in that kind of skate rock type stuff too. So shout out to the remaining two Beastie Boys. That is Mike D and Adam Yout, otherwise known as Ad Rock. All right, so let's see here. Busta says I fixed his entire battery system, rewired 12 batteries, doubling down on grounds. Hopefully static electricity will stop grounding the current. I don't know anything about that, dude. That is not my area of expertise at all. I have no advice whatsoever. I don't know how I fixed your entire battery system. Was it just by telling you that, space weather is not discharging your batteries? I hope so. Or whatever we said. I don't even remember the conversation well enough, honestly. But thanks for giving me credit. I didn't do anything. You figured it out. I just talked about basic physics. By the way, folks, in order for a lot of electricity to build up in a thing, it has to be a really big thing. So a thing like a bridge or a section of railway, or especially the power grid, where you have really long runs of conductive material, that is what collects the induced power from space. The currents, they flow out of the ground and they go through all of that stuff. And you need long runs. Space weather's not going to melt your silverware unless your silverware, if you have a fork that's 5 miles in length, then it might build up some charge, but guess what? It's still not going to melt because it's probably made of steel, and that's some physics, and this is some crap that you hear on YouTube about space weather from people who don't understand physics, cosmology, geophysics, astronomy, electricity and magnetism, which, by the way, is the subject of Physics 2, if you weren't aware. Physics 2. All right, so Mark Hughes says, I'm torn. By definition, if I leave a comment, I want to #indict. But what if I want to merely impeach? I also need a coconut hat. We don't sell those, but we sell lots of stuff on Amazon, including just added yesterday, Eclipse glasses. So maybe go check those out. Lots of things to purchase over there on Amazon. And I'm just trying to get through your comments here because, well, these Wednesday streams are all about people like you and your ability to contribute to the content. Of course, we do keep it as interactive as we possibly can. And of course, also keep in mind that we encourage all legal speech. So don't say anything too dumb in the chat because we will not censor you. So if you make a fool of yourself, you may be berated. That is the danger, right? The danger of free speech is that you're free to say whatever you want. You might make a fool of yourself or even incriminate yourself or say something really stupid, or maybe accidentally say something really smart and give away a potential invention or something like that, right? These are the dangers of free speech. The dangers of censoring free speech are very different, aren't they? Because the dangers of censoring free speech amount to the dangers of all fascist regimes throughout modern history. So, the 20th century featured plenty of censorship, especially in certain countries around World War II, like Nazi Germany and Hirohito's Japan, and Mao's China, and Stalinist and Leninist Russia. Those places were all rife with censorship. How did that work out? Did that work out well? And of course, my first argument with most things that are done in an extremely irresponsible fashion are economic in nature. And there's a great reason for that. It's because we need a lot of funding to accomplish our goals for the year 2023. And I mean a lot. So anyway, perhaps that funding should come in something besides U.S. currency. No, I'm not. I'm just kidding, folks. You can send us cash in various ways, like on PayPal, or become a gold annual paid-up subscriber of the Smash Team and get a handsome shirt design like this as complimentary merch. Yeah, complimentary merch for joining the Smash Team at the annual paid-up gold level. And by the way, that was inspired by things like Steven Crowder's Mug Club and things like Daily Wire's Leftist Tears mug or whatever it is. It's inspired by that stuff because what it does is it allows us to not only send you some tangible asset for trusting us for another entire year of additional content, but it helps us advertise because the URL is on the products. And it's like getting 4 months for free. It seems like a brilliant idea. So thanks especially to our gold annual paid-up subscribers at smashomash.com/SmashTeam. And again, feel free to fight amongst yourselves. Thanks for lurking if you haven't left a comment. And thanks for leaving a comment if you have. That means you, wild alchemical spirit. All right. Shout out to you too, Mr. Bordages. By the way, many of you may have seen Mr. Bordages and I argue in the comments section during live premieres. I can assure you there is no bad blood. Mike, yes, about that new gig tomorrow. I'll have to discuss that with you in private. That's actually slated to start Friday, so I can share more with you about that in a non-globally visible public view. Did you know that YouTube receives over 2 billion monthly users? That makes it a monopoly. I know people want the content on Rumble, people want the content on Library, people want it on BitChute and so forth. You're not getting it. You're not getting it because this is a monetized channel. So there's a reason to have exclusivity on the YouTube videos. I won't talk any more about that. Colt45 thinks I should go work with X. I've been a little bit critical of big tech social media companies. I somehow don't think it's going to be appropriate. Plus, they've recently downsized like 60% of their staff or something like that. I'm also a huge vocal critic of the chief engineer who appointed himself as chief engineer, Mr. Musk. Not a fan, not friendly, and while Mr. Musk ought to watch our videos, even we didn't forecast today's geomagnetic storm. And let's see what's going on with the solar wind and stuff. So the geomagnetic storm has subsided here a little bit. Now we're still at, you could say it's geomagnetic unrest conditions, KP 3.67. And, it was basically just caused by an increase in the plasma temperature, a little increase in the plasma density. The fields actually got weaker there. The fields got weaker, and they got closer to the zero line there for the vertical component. So just a little uptick there. And, this is actually very useful right here. You see it down here at the bottom. You probably can't see that. Can you see that? Down here at the bottom, you see that green bar. That is when the real-time solar wind was switched from the Discover to the ACE and then back to the Discover. So, you're seeing two different solar wind regimes here. Because Lagrangian point 1 is pretty big, folks. So those spacecraft are orbiting a large area. So, but that's useful because what you're seeing here is a similar signal from both for the temperature, a similar signal from both for the speed, a similar signal from both for the density, and also the magnetic fields. So there's a pretty homogeneous solar wind out there 1 million miles away from Earth at Lagrangian point 1, the location where things like the SOHO spacecraft, the ACE and Discover and more spacecraft orbit. That's your update on your solar wind conditions. And let's put up a different series of images here. How about 131 angstroms we'll switch to? And I'll get back to news stories and your delightful comments. So this is just today, August 2nd, featured there on the SDO imagery. Now let's see what other interesting stories we've got here to comment on. And of course, as you're all too well aware, the reason I put the word indict in the title of this video, hashtag indict, is to be inflammatory about it. So yeah, and for all of you who are not yet aware, I don't belong to a political party, and I never have. And I hate the Threads platform. It sucks. It just sucks. All the parties who decided to leave X and go over to Threads instead, if you want to see a bunch of people who can't meme, go over to Threads. I mean, so a little bit about the stats of Threads. So we've got like, I don't know, 550 Instagram followers or some pathetic number like that. And only 36 have followed on Threads. So we import-exported all of our, we follow all the accounts that have, created a Threads account. We follow all of them. And only 36 have followed. So it's dying. It's pathetic. It's based on Twitter, which is a lot more elegant than Meta software. I mean, there are some weird glitchy differences that I won't even get into. But it's bad. It's bad. Do you remember The Onion? Remember when The Onion used to be funny? Go look on Threads. We actually shared one of their threads today over on @Threads. And it's just unfunny, right? I mean, I think like Babylon Bee is now considered right-wing, and The Onion is now considered left-wing, and it is. It clearly is. It is putting up leftist stories. I mean, The Onion was sort of the original, at least as far as I know. I mean, I was reading that thing back in like 2002, and The Onion used to be absolutely hilarious and very well written, but now it's clearly geared to a certain political side. And what I was getting at earlier is that I've got no political affiliation. I am absolutely what you would call a homeless orphan when it comes to politics. There is absolutely no party out there that has the same nuanced view that I have on everything, whether it's the libertarians. I mean, especially the libertarians who discovered the word like 5 minutes ago, and now they're gung-ho hardcore libertarians. Hardcore libertarians. Those people are really obnoxious, and no, I don't want to hear about crypto. Then you've got Republicans and Democrats, and then you've got like socialists and so on. Yeah, not lining up with any of that stuff. So I am a legit political orphan. There is absolutely no party affiliation, never has been, and probably never will be. If you're trying to put me in a box, I got news for you. You're going to need a bigger box. I don't fit into any of your boxes. If you'd like to put me in a box, feel free. But that is a box of limitations of your own mind, not of reality. I don't believe in barriers to thinking and so on. And I'm not going to jump on anybody's tribe because their economics are better than some other hack fraud's economics. All right, what else do we have here? The Bidens went to watch Oppenheimer last night. That sounds exciting. What else do we have? European militaries evacuate foreign nationals from Niger. Niger. I believe it's pronounced Niger. That's one you want to be careful with. Be careful when pronouncing Niger. Also be careful pronouncing my last name. If you would like to offend me, please feel free to try. I doubt you will succeed. It's pretty tough. It's okay. It's pretty much impossible, folks. Just kidding, just kidding. Our regular viewers, I'm sure, know how to offend me. So, and looking at stories here about Hunter Biden and Burisma. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on a YouTube video or not, but I've said it. The video's already demonetized. What else could possibly happen besides the channel gets deleted entirely? No big deal. Would you be disappointed? Would we have to brand a new channel called the Smash News Network, least busted name in news? All right, now just so you know, folks, these videos usually come out on a Wednesday at 3 o'clock. We did the video early today because of some business responsibilities that I thought were scheduled for 4 o'clock, but they're actually for next week. But you can expect this stream to be maybe another hour. I suspect shorter because it's kind of a slow news day in my opinion. I mean, a surprising space weather happening there, but besides that, it seems kind of boring. I mean, there's a geoelectric field. This thing should be calming down here. Let's see. So no major spikes here in quite a while. There were some pretty serious ones earlier. There's the most recent one, a little bit of a spike. But maximum field there only 101 millivolts per kilometer. Not a whole lot of induced current there in the system. I mean, this looks a little more exciting. So we'll leave that up there. That's the last 4 hours, by the way. Some magnetic pulses coming out of the equatorial regions there. So there could be maybe some substorms visible over places like Africa. I don't think it's dark there yet. Let's check lightning maps. They've got a light map. There you go. Yeah. Large portions of Africa could be seeing aurora here. There could be some substorm. I doubt it. And I would suspect the best place to see them would be around here. But it is theoretically possible, as it is now dark in those areas. So anyway, let's switch to, do you got any user requests? How about if we do 193 angstroms? Since there are now 2 CMEs headed toward Earth. If you didn't see this morning's daily space weather video, there are 2 CMEs headed toward Earth. Yeah, you got to watch all the content, folks. I don't know what to tell you. If you want me to say things, you've got to hear the things that are said, and that's... And by the way, we love it when people leave comments after only looking at the thumbnail and reading the title of the video. I mean, that is just epic. Like, the purpose of the title and thumbnail is to get people to watch the video, especially people who are not already subscribed to the channel. So why would you see the title and thumbnail, have questions about the content of the video, and then without watching the video, leave a comment about stuff that was expressed in the video? Is that similar logic to what's been going on since 2020? What kind of logic is that, folks? It's just bizarre. And it happens all the time. It happens all the time. And of course, you know, if you're not aware, the reason that we put up sometimes very ridiculous thumbnails and titles is because it's YouTube. YouTube pays you to post, inflammatory things, right? And occasionally, we're not a channel that goes back and like reevaluates the video and retitles it and changes the description and changes the thumbnail and like reshares it and re-uploads. Like, we don't do all that kind of stuff. The content is there. We put it there. We leave it there. We don't put up the same video 47 times like many channels do. I mean, there are people getting paid a lot of money to put up the same clips over and over and over again. We just don't do that. It's unethical. It's ridiculous. It's spam, essentially. It's taking up space on the servers, and it's taking up space in their users' brains. It's like, I'm not going to mention which channels they are, but there are some channels that keep putting out the same content over and over and over again. It's just bizarre. It is terrible for your credibility. It might pick you up new subscribers, but after they see this happening, just polluting their subscription feed constantly, who's gonna tolerate that? It's just ridiculous. So yeah, this CME right here, that is. Oh, you can't freaking see that, can you? All right. Anyway, 2 more CMEs. One's going to arrive Friday, and one's going to arrive Saturday. The one on Friday will be here sometime afternoon time, we expect. And the one on Saturday will be here later in the day, likely into Sunday. So, yeah. 2 more CMEs on the way. Coronal mass ejections, if you're wondering. And by the way, if you notice, the word coronal mass ejections never appears in the titles. Also, coronal holes never appears in titles. Would you like to know why? I'll bet you want to know why, right? Yeah. It's because if you put the word corona in a title, your video will be demonetized. So if you're talking about the beer, you're talking about the sun, you're talking about a light halo, you're talking about other things, certain viral agents, you'd be demonetized. So, and just so you know, the reason content creators don't want videos demonetized is not because of the 2 cents that we're going to make from the viewing of that particular video. It's because we don't want our content buried in search, making it nearly unfindable, and we don't want the content to not be recommended. If your video is demonetized, YouTube will not recommend the video. So you know how if you have autoplay turned on, YouTube will just keep playing more and more videos all day long, nonstop? Well, if your video is demonetized, it will never play. It will never be recommended. It'll never be autoplayed. So that's why. We don't want the content demonetized because we want people to be able to see the content. A demonetized video is harder to find just using basic search. Even if you type in the full name of the title, you'll find a bunch of other crap that isn't the video you're looking for, even though you typed in the exact name of the title. That is how broken search is. So, and that YouTube search is the second biggest search in the world, powered by Google, which is the biggest search in the world. So it's not only a monopoly, it's a completely dominated space. The search space is perhaps the most monopolized thing in the history of mankind. It is pretty crazy, folks. Yeah, Google is the largest search by far. It's not even close. And then the next search by far, not even close, is YouTube, because people are looking for how-to videos all the time, or videos to explain why there's so much iron in the atmosphere of the sun and things like that. So, yeah. All right, so let me get to your comments here. I'm seriously trying to get to the bottom of these things. So keep typing, and I'll keep talking. And no, I'm not going to get indicted. I'm squeaky clean. I'm shockingly clean. I'm one of those people who has the kind of profile where I could get hired for law enforcement. That's why the TSA tried to hire me in 2008. Oh, congratulations on having Freemason ancestors. Yeah, you might be a shill. You might already be ultra rich. And if I were ultra rich, I might even demonetize the channel and just not worry about any of those settings ever again. Unfortunately, I'm trying to fund a nonprofit science foundation and also achieve basic survival all at the same time, folks. I know it's a crazy endeavor. It's just reckless. It's just straight up reckless. Trying to explain a plausible mechanism that underlies the solar sunspot cycles. An answer to a question not asked. Because that's what happens, man. In science, you get answers to questions not asked. In the realm of science, practically everybody asks the same question. How does it do that? Why is the thing? What's up with the field reversals? Why are sunspots dark? Because they're flat, and those kinds of things, right? Like everybody's got the same questions. Everybody's got the same questions. But what usually happens, you try to answer the questions, right? You're like, hey, how come the solar polar fields reverse? Hey, why do sunspots just appear like during part of the cycle but not the rest of the cycle? And why do the polarities reverse? And so on and so on and so forth. And what usually happens if you're doing real science is you end up with no answers to the questions you've asked. You end up with lots more questions, and then you end up with answers to questions not asked, and then that's what you write the papers about. And yeah, that's where we stand. So all right, what else do we got? If you've got news stories that you want me to cover, just let us know. Dear Gond, why so many religious comments? Just kidding, folks. All right. So, what else do we got? Somebody says, let's go, Brandon. I don't know who this Brandon guy is, but he sounds very nice. Yeah, again, I'm not politically plugged in, so I don't know. This Brandon guy seems like a really good dude. So shout out to Brandon, whoever it might be. By the way, I did not go to the Mark Zuckerberg School of Drinking Out of a Glass. I went to a different school. We chugged. Yes. Oh man, I was drinking red Gatorade. I don't know what's up with that stuff. Well, it's okay, I guess. It's fine. And now it's time to chug. If you've got something to chug, then come chug with us. Did you know that I'm a champion chugger? Yeah. I can go out and run middle distance and then chug carbonated beverages, which is what I'm going to do right now. What kind of carbonated beverage, you're asking? Club soda. Ooh, look at the bubbly goodness of that, folks. Oh my God. I could make that into a Star Trek transporter effect. Watch this. You want to know how they did the Star Trek transporter effect? Watch this, folks. You see that? That's pretty epic, right? Yeah. Oh, yeah. The Star Trek transporter effect. You can make it, too, using free software. Yeah. Did you know that the software that we use to make these very videos it's called OBS? It's completely free. It's open source software, which is the best software in the world. You can even get free operating systems. Yeah, Linux. Open source is, in many ways, the real key to the future. Proprietary software, like the software that's on these smart devices, which are about as smart as a dog's ass, is proprietary. It's based on open source software. It's based on Linux, but it's not. It's proprietary. It's spyware, junkware, deathware. And it's time to chug. So if you're chugging along, I'm going to do a countdown, and then I'm going to chug this club soda, as I would never encourage anybody to chug alcoholic beverages unless it's all right, never mind. Please enjoy responsibly, whether it's club soda or booze. Again, this is not booze. This is club soda. Who knows? Maybe the channel will get deleted because I chugged club soda on the live stream. You never know. It's hard to keep on top of all of the insane rules that must be followed, limiting people's speech in the United States of America, or the allegedly United States of America. Anyway, if you're going to chug along with us, now's the time to do it, because I'm chugging in 3, 2, 1. Yes, I am a champion chugger. Average 12-ounce chug is about 6 seconds. And I know I was a little slow because I didn't hold my breath today. So, if you were trying to race me, you probably lost. Sorry about that. Which brings me to another fun fact. Did you know that in a bicycle race, it is a totally normal thing for the fastest, smartest, strongest guy to not win? Happens all the time, for all kinds of different reasons. It could be because that rider's not doped. That could be one of the reasons. And of course, the reason why doping is illegal in cycling is because it's bad for your health. When I took up the sport in 1997, there had already been nearly 150 deaths based on just one drug, an anemia drug called EPO, erythropoietin, which has been widely used in this sport, although not so much anymore because now there is a test for it. It's part of the reason why Lance Armstrong had to come out of the cheating closet. So, a little bit about Lance Armstrong. You may not know where I line up in my opinions of Lance Armstrong. So, I was not a fan of him when he first won the Tour de France. And then I was like, oh, that guy came back from cancer? That's pretty sweet. And then he won in 2000. And I was like, that seems sketchy. And then he won in 2001. And I said, I'm not calling him a liar, but I don't believe him. Because by 99, I was a pro cyclist too. And guess what? Things didn't add up. So his coach, Chris Carmichael, came up with the excuse, we're just really good at training and diet. We're just smarter than you, is basically what he said to everybody. And everybody in the World Cup cycling peloton was like, huh? Everybody's doing all the same stuff. How are they that much better? And it broke the math for a long time in the sport. So that was suboptimal because we used to be able to calculate when somebody would attack and, how much hardship they would have on a given mountain pass and things, and it just, none of the math was adding up. Well, there was a reason for it, because all the drugs were being used, all of them, constantly. And there was bribery, and it is the most sophisticated, costly, and complex cheating campaign in the history of athletics, as far as we know. Because the amount of money and the amount of fraud and the amount of time frame to win 7 Tours de France in a row and all of that sort of stuff, just out of control. But ultimately, and that all of that stuff professionally defames me, because cycling is on my professional resume. So when I send, when people want to know what happened with employment gaps, I was doing a lot of things throughout all that time, and one of those things was pro cyclist. So it's not good for me, because people go, I wonder if he's on dope like Lance Armstrong. And I've just simply never cheated in a bike race in any fashion, because there's all kinds of ways to cheat in a bike race, many of which are very easy to get away with. But I've never done any of that. Never drafted a Winnebago or a fire truck during a time trial. Nothing like that. Just nothing like that, period. Because I want to be able to celebrate my victories with a clean conscience, knowing that I accomplished a thing and I did it fair and square. So that's the way it works, folks. When you take responsibility for your actions, you can blame other people for their screw-ups. So that's one to grow on. Admit when you're wrong, and then you can call other people when they're wrong. That's just the way it works, because accountability always comes. And what I'm getting at is that Lance Armstrong did more good than harm overall. So, as a cyclist, I dislike Lance Armstrong greatly. As a person, he's all right. I mean, I kind of like him because, well, he probably caused over 1 billion people to ride their bikes. I mean, think about all of the press coverage. You know, there was probably like a billboard in Bombay at some point in 2003 or something that had Lance Armstrong's face on a time trial bike or something, right? How many people decided to pedal a bike at some point over the past 20 years because Lance Armstrong, right? He's done more good than harm overall on like a planetary scale. To me personally, he's done more harm than good probably because, again, my resume. But, and you are right, employment gaps are no one's business. You can do whatever you want whenever you want. You can be independently wealthy and decide that you don't feel like working for a while, right? There are all kinds of scenarios out there, so don't assume. Because when you assume, you will not make an ass out of you and me, because I will not be assuming. I might make educated guesses, but yeah. So Lance, and by the way, there's a great channel called We Do. Wait, what's it called? Smash Staff. Do you remember what that channel's called? There is a YouTube channel where Lance and his former teammate George Hincapie, they regularly go over the the recent major bike racing and so on. It's very interesting to hear their analysis because they still talk to some people that are deeply entrenched in the sport. Of course, Lance is banned from the sport for life. So Lance can't become a coach. He can't become a mechanic. He can't become an official. He is banned from the sport for life. I think he can still compete in some WADA-oriented sports. Like he can still, like, if he wanted to run a marathon or something like that, I think he's still legit for that stuff. But for the sport of cycling, Lance is done for good. He's never coming back. It's a lifetime ban. So, and the way it works, by the way, folks, is if you test positive for a banned substance, the first time it's a 6-month suspension. The second time, it's a 2-year suspension. And the third time, you're banned for life. Now, in Lance's case, I think he went straight from no official suspensions to banned for life because of the scope of the cheating. But yeah. Here's another fun fact about cycling. Did you know that in Italy, cheating in sports is actually a crime? It's not just like a breach of contract issue, a civil matter. In Italy, it's a crime. That's how seriously they take their sports in Italy. So, it's a lot smarter to cheat in the Tour de France than to cheat in the second largest race in the world, the Giro d'Italia, the Tour of Italy. That's also one of only three-week stage races, the Giro d'Italia. Don't cheat in the Giro d'Italia. People have been criminally prosecuted for cheating in Italian sports. So, and remember, folks, ignorance is no excuse. Ignorance is not a legal defense. So, don't get yourself in over your head. Yes, Linux, renter, Linux. For example, there's a program called Linux Peppermint. You can install that. If you've got an old PC that's broken down, it doesn't function anymore, put Linux Mint on a bootable thumb drive, plug that thumb drive into that old computer, and run the OS right from the thumb drive. You will be absolutely amazed. You can resurrect your old computers, folks. Your old computers still work just fine. You know what went wrong? Windows. Windows is designed to murder your computer. Let that sink in. Windows has planned obsolescence built into it. It's only going to survive so long, and then eventually it's not going to update, and then some things are going to happen with other software, and it's not going to be able to do its job as an operating system anymore. Linux operating systems, they generally have backward compatibility and legacy operations that go on forever. So if you want to resurrect an old PC, if you've got a PC sitting around that's like recently broke down, you're like, oh man, that PC's broken down, what could I do? Install Linux on it. Just put it on a thumb drive, boot that thing up, go into your BIOS, make it boot from the thumb drive, and try it out. It's not that dissimilar from Windows. There are skins. If you need skins that you can make it look just like Windows, you can make it look like Mac OS. So the possibilities are endless, folks, and it's open source, which means you can tweak the code as long as you share your tweaks with the open source market. It's what the real computing people do. And Renter, I would have to discourage you from posting links in our live chat unless they are vetted links. So beware of that link, whatever it is, folks. I have no idea what that is, and I'm definitely not clicking it. So, of course, links are extremely dangerous to click on in the first place, and when anybody posts a link that's not vetted by us, click that link at your own peril. That's the main reason that we discourage the posting of links, folks, is just because of internet security issues. It's not because people put up stupid, idiotic videos on YouTube that we disagree with, like cosmology nonsense videos or something like that. It's not that. It's just because of if it's not vetted. And by the way, if you ever see a suspicious website and you want to know if it's legit, try scamvoid.net. Yes, scamvoid.net. So that's, you could put a website into scamvoid.net. It'll do all kinds of searching and, figure out whether or not it's a legit website or not. All right, let's see what other stories we've got here. I'm going to go to because every Wednesday, most Wednesdays, I go to cbsnews.com, the original fake news source, originally news faked by Walter Cronkite, who actually had a conscience and who admitted that he was covering the Vietnam conflict from a biased perspective. CBS News, the original fake news. All right, so they're talking. Of course, the top headline is what to expect at Trump's arraignment on federal charges. And Trump has got the 1,000-mile stare there while he's sitting there looking off into the distance, wondering if the U.S. will ever recover from its current banana republic status. So, I mean, I've had some major criticisms because, let's face it, we've had decades of pathetic presidents in the U.S. I mean, George W. Bush, he created a thing called Department of Homeland Security. He signed the Patriot Act, all these sorts of things. Like, we've got decades of terrible presidents, in my opinion. And I have just this side of zero respect for any of them. Of course, I'm not able to read their national security briefs. But a lot of the decisions that I've seen made, I have been less than thrilled about a lot of the decisions made of the past 20 plus years. Yeah, 20 plus years of pathetic and putrid presidents. And of course, this exposes many things like why I'm not a fan of Trump. The reason I'm not a fan of Trump is because I'm not a fan of anybody. I'm not even a fan of you, folks, because to be a fan is to be fanatical. And if you're fanatical, you are you're dogmatic. You're not predisposed to facts. You're predisposed to fanaticism, and fanaticism is not good. So if you're a fan of a sports team, see, I'm a supporter of certain sports teams, especially local ones, right? Like the Smash team, for example. And of course, the cycling team that I ride for, theveloshop.net. Go check out the website. Go buy something. Tell Becky that Dan sent you, right? We're on a first-name basis, more or less. Tell her Dan, a.k.a. Smash-O-Mash. She'll know who you mean. And I'm not even a fan of a team that I ride for because I'm not fanatical. I've got friends that ride for other teams and stuff, right? That's a normal thing. And, don't be a fanatic. Being a fanatic is ridiculous. I mean, the Philly fanatic is pretty sweet, but... All right, what else do we have here on CBS News, the original fake news source? Trump indicted by grand jury in special counsel's January 6th investigation. Read the Trump indictment text charging him with 2020 election probe. Where things stand with 4 major Trump investigations. Those are the headlines. It's not interesting to me at all. I know a lot of people are celebrating, like, yes, Trump's been indicted for a 3rd time. Oh my God, my lucky stars have aligned. All right, so speaking of stars aligning, I'm going to have to step aside here for a nature break. I'll come back here in a moment, and we'll close this live stream out with some additional rants. So make sure you leave any requests in the comments field, and I'll be back here in about a minute or two. All right, and I am back. Once again, if you've got any other news stories you'd like us to cover, make sure you let us know in the comments. And I'm going to transition here to my favorite science website, SciTechDaily.com. So SciTechDaily.com is highly recommended. SciTechDaily.com. It's so good. I mean, they even post new articles on Sundays. They're legit daily, folks. So, yeah, check that out if you haven't seen SciTech Daily. They regularly put up cutting-edge articles on everything from cosmology to biology. So it's just fantastic. Let's put up some different imagery here. How about some composites? Hopefully here is 94, 335, and 193. Come on, then. Just give that a minute. And let's see what headlines we've got. So we've got, let's see. Chilling breakthrough. The science behind a real-life freeze-ray technology. Really? Oh, for goodness sakes. For God's sake. Great. Just what I wanted to cover. Real-life freeze-ray technology, like Dr. Freeze on... Is that Batman? Hey, it looks like there's some flare activity kicking up here. That new rising sunspot down there in the southeastern limb there. Check it out right there. Looks like a pretty significant event happening there. So that could be creating some more CMEs and so forth. All right, let's check out this freeze ray article. Freeze ray coming out, folks. Oh, for goodness sakes, what a clickbait. University of Virginia, Professor Patrick Hopkins developing a freeze ray device to cool electronics in spacecraft and high-altitude jets. The technology is based on plasma, which will cause people to believe untrue things about it, I guess. And of course, just the freaking title is going to cause people to completely misinterpret what it means. And they're going to be like, hey, you didn't know freeze rays, that's a thing. So now we're going to get, we're going to get winter cold spells, and people are going to say, that's just the freeze ray that they built at University of Virginia, bro. It's just one of the many weather mods, just like chemtrails, which are geoengineering. Because everybody knows that contrails in the troposphere are geoengineering, right? That's going to do a thing, right? Ah, yes. So the freeze ray gun that Batman's villain Mr. Freeze used to ice his enemies? Turns out somebody figured out how to make it in real life. Okay. It's based on heat-generating plasma. Not meant for weaponry. Anyway, they're investing $750,000 over 3 years to study how to maximize the technology. Laser Thermal is fabricating the prototype device. Just trying to see the physics here. Just a minute. So it could be helpful for Space Force and for fighter jets and perhaps even for satellite technology. Of course, technology on the International Space Station will be affected by it. Not exactly sure how the plasma cools things off, but I'm over it. I don't care enough about the physics to even read the rest of the story. But you may hear about a freeze ray, and that's what it is. It's to cool electronics. It's not to control Earth's weather. All right, let's see what else we have here on SciTechDaily.com. Puzzling quantum phenomenon when electrons slowly vanish during cooling. How yoga could help older women ward off Alzheimer's. Yeah, yoga. I highly recommend it, by the way. Because, little known fact, folks. Did you know that flexibility is strength? If you have a longer range of motion, you are effectively stronger. So just stretching will make you stronger. And it's a known thing in the sport of cycling that people who aren't trained as well, but who are very good at yoga, they are better cyclists. They're better at most functional activities because they tend to have, of course, not just the flexibility, but also great circulation because, these things are related. Stretching, it helps to open up your neural pathways. All right, so I'm trying to get through your comments here once again. Just getting to the bottom here. I'm almost down here. I don't know what you mean by how much for your institute. I mean, we need about 50 grand. And then there has to be ongoing cash flow also, so Like at the moment, we could use 50 grand, and moving forward, we're going to need about 50 grand a year. So that's sort of just that's the operating cost and the startup cost. It's we're going to build an observatory, and there are other economic concerns that have nothing to do with the nonprofit organization. So we don't just need more funding. We need a lot more funding, and that's why if you go to smashomash.org, it will redirect you to smashomash.com, because what it's saying is help fund the nonprofit organization so it can come into existence. It can be expensive to write a science paper, and there is a certain particle physicist who lives in Minsk, Belarus, who I have to pay for it, because he doesn't work for free, I don't work for free, and as it is, our daily space weather videos, they cost us about $50,000 a year. So that's the current state of affairs. And thanks for asking, by the way. It is all entirely a transparent operation. I mean, there's no funky sleight of hand going on. We make just this side of nothing to put the videos on YouTube, so the channel is monetized. And you want to know what the yield is? The channel, even though it's just increased about 77,000 views per month, this channel makes about $50 a month. So all those ads you're watching, it makes us about $50 a month. YouTube typically does not pay out 2 months in a row because you have to be over $100 to get a YouTube Google AdSense payout. So, yeah, that's the state of affairs. These videos are primarily brought to you by Smash Team members. So people who've signed up for the subscription services site at smashomash.com/SmashTeam, you can thank those people for these videos remaining in existence. Again, we created the 1-year annual paid-up subscription membership because it is a way to help pre-invest, right? That's why, because you're sending a whole year's membership, that allows us the extra overhead to send you the merch item. Now, interestingly enough, about 2/3 of our annual gold paid-up Smash Team members About 2/3 of our Gold Annual Smash Team members do not actually request any merch. I don't know if it's because they don't want it. Maybe they don't want to divulge their address, or they just realize that it's going to cost us something and they'd rather have all the money go directly to us. Whatever the reason is, it's fine. I mean, keep in mind you do have to respond within 30 days, or 31 days we'll say, to Smash staff's request to find out what merch item you want if you sign up for the annual gold paid up subscription. And Mark Hughes, as far as Patreon goes, we're already on Patreon. So you can decide to donate whatever you want on Patreon. If you want to donate $500 per year, you can donate $500 per year on Patreon. That is there. There are levels there, but you don't have to donate what the levels are. And you're not going to get extra content there either. So, I mean, that's a scenario. So, you can donate $500 on Patreon. You could send direct payments through PayPal, for that matter. It doesn't require any sort of a subscription. And once again, thanks to everybody who has contributed. I mean, we've gotten, some people do occasionally just send PayPal donations, and again, we encourage them to sign up for the email list at Smash Team, but some people don't want to, don't know how to, or I don't know. It's not so difficult. You just head to smashomash.com/SmashTeam and then create an account. It's pretty basic. Some of the other features that come with a Gold Smash Team membership are that if you want an email address that goes through our server, so if you want, for example, if you want Matt at smashomash.com, that email address is still available. I think most first names are. So that's another feature of a gold membership. If you want an at smashomash.com email address, we'll hook you up with that also. Even if you just sign up for 1 month for $9.99 a month. Just 1 month will get you the email address. And we're not going to take it away from you if you decide to disenroll after a 1 month Gold Smash Team membership. So, yeah, lots of stuff, lots of ways to contribute to the channel. So, yeah, I mean, we've created a massive infrastructure around our operations here. So, we realized that we needed to create multiple income streams in order to make the channel profitable in the first place because of the pathetic censorship on social media accounts. And just so you know, we have spent nothing ever boosting posts on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, on YouTube. We have not paid 1 red cent to a big tech organization to boost our content. So any growth that you see, if you hear about people buying views and all that nonsense, we've done nothing as far as that's gone. All we've done is created our own web ring, our own original content. I mean, I'm the graphic designer person. Smash Staff is the IT department and social media account. So, like my personal Facebook, I've got 2 Facebooks. One of them has nearly 5,000 friends, and one has like 400 friends. The smaller one is the one I run. The other one is the one that Smash Staff runs. So she puts the content up every day in there, and it's very clear that certain posts get deboosted, otherwise known as shadow banning, which is, by the way, now just a known thing. Nobody continues to call this a conspiracy theory because it's very clear that all the major big tech companies, and what I mean by that is Alphabet, Apple, Meta, and Twitter, have been doing it for years and years. It's one of the many reasons why the U.S. is now a banana republic, a former nation, but now the Constitution's been abandoned, period. Un-American companies misleading investors belong in federal prison. So, I mean, that's just my stance, because misleading investors is still illegal even in a banana republic. Okay, there are still rules there. I mean, at the very least, the SEC should be investigating the misallocation of people's money in the stock market. If you run a publicly traded company, it is illegal for you to lie to your shareholders. So if you say, "Hey, we're going to have general AI, we're going to have AIG, we're going to have general artificial intelligence in the next 6 months," and it's clear that you're not going to have artificial intelligence in the next 6 months, you've misled investors. If you do a press conference and you tell lies, it's a crime. I mean, obviously Martha Stewart is not part of the preferred class because she made a little tiny, it was a pretty big investment move, but it's insider trading shouldn't be illegal. Insider trading is not what we're talking about. Martha Stewart didn't lie to investors. She had somebody who was on the inside who gave her a tip, and she traded stock based on the tip, and she went to federal prison for it. What are Apple, Alphabet, Google, what are Alphabet, Meta, Apple, and Twitter doing? See the difference? It's not the same thing at all. It's not insider trading. It's legit lying to investors. And I will not tolerate that. I will call out anybody. I don't care who it is. I will call out anybody on their screw-ups. Because, maybe I should wrap up with this. The reason that I admit when I screw up is because I want to be able to blame others when they screw up. That seems equitable, wouldn't you say? I'll tell you what's not equitable is discriminating against me because of innate characteristics. That is not equitable. That is evil. And it ought to be criminal, last I checked. This still is called the United States of America, right? Maybe it ought to be renamed the allegedly United Statists of America. Every time the government gets bigger, guess what happens, folks? You get smaller. You get smaller. Hey, I've got some serious economic concerns about certain political hack frauds, all right? So, for example, Bernie Sanders, economic illiterate. He fills up his pool by taking water out of the deep end, spilling like 30% of it, pouring the rest in the shallow end, and wondering why his pool keeps getting emptier. That is the economics of an illiterate fool. So, if you're going to create an infrastructure to confiscate people's money, they have to get paid to confiscate people's money, which reduces the amount of money, which is why if you think taxes stimulate the economy, you should seek psychiatric help. Or maybe just take an economics class. I don't know. How would taxes stimulate the economy? It is the most ridiculous argument that I've seen on Facebook over the past 7 years. Higher taxes stimulate the economy. Okay, you're going to take money out of the productive economy and put it in the unproductive economy while passing it through another unproductive economy, the government itself. Okay, how's that going to work? What, do you have volunteers working for the government? What, are you, insane? It makes no sense. No sense. Let's check out that latest flare. Oh, look at that. Son of a, okay, it has now leveled off. It was an M-class event there, so that's pretty interesting. No relativistic particles yet. All right, what else should I rant about? Anything else? Anything else? I think I am done with this stream. How about one more set of composite images? And then we'll close this mother out. Let's see if there's any other stories I ought to cover from SciTech Daily here. Come on, then. Come on, SDO. That is not our internet connection, by the way. All right, so let's see here. Euclid Space Telescope to shed a light on the dark universe. A revolution in physics is almost guaranteed. I find that very dubious. That sounds like a dubious claim. What do you think? So there's a great view of that filament eruption from this morning. Whoops. Hey, get off my screen. All right, there we go. This filament eruption right here. That was a good one. And part of that is headed toward your back door. That is not a butt reference, by the way. All right, what else do we have here? So Euclid expected to shed light on the dark universe. A revolution in physics is almost guaranteed. Oh, by the way, that brings me to another important point. So that thing there, have you considered the possibility that's not made of a gaseous plasma? There's a very important anniversary that happens on October 1st of this year. So October 1st of this year is the 10-year anniversary, 1 decade, 10 years since Robitaille released the paper on solar cycles. So, not solar cycles, the liquid metallic hydrogen as a solar building block. I had like a Biden moment there. Liquid metallic hydrogen as a solar building block. Have you considered this? Yeah, you might want to read the paper. I'll put a link right in this chat. The paper is entitled 40 Lines of Evidence for Condensed Matter, the Sun on Trial, Liquid Metallic Hydrogen as a Solar Building Block, released October 1st, 2013. Here's a link to the PDF file. Right there, conveniently in the chat. If you haven't read it, it's... What the heck? It didn't post? What in the hell? All right, let me try it. Let me try it as a viewer here instead. I have this file, actually, I have this link saved because so many people come up with crazy arguments. There we go. There we go. Now it worked. So yeah, there's the paper. The 10-year anniversary of that paper's release is October 1st of 2023, and we're going to organize a cosmology party. We're going to make a national holiday out of this because the rewriting of cosmology began nearly 10 years ago. Why? Because the understanding of how that thing works is the basis for the understanding of all of cosmology. If the basic understanding of the form and function of that thing turns out to be completely different than what people have believed it to be since the 1850s, frankly, then cosmology is going to be a cutting-edge science. There's a long way to go, folks, a long way to go. There are some assumptions being made currently that are likely completely incorrect. So that's yet another reason why we are leveraged where we are. You know, in the mid-90s when I took college astronomy, I expected to see a deep dive on that because I wanted to know how cosmology worked, and I knew cosmology was based on that. And we had like 2 paragraphs about the sun, and I was stunned and amazed at how few breakthroughs had happened by about 1995. I think it was 95. I think I took astronomy in second semester of 5. So, yeah. And, part of the reason I didn't get a degree in astronomy is because I didn't want to calculate the redshift of Cepheid variables in distant galaxies for a decade with my 4-year Bachelor of Science in astronomy. Because, back in the mid-90s, you could get a job with NASA just with a 4-year degree in astronomy. You could get a 4-year degree, BS in astronomy, Bachelor of Science in astronomy, and NASA would hire you back then. But you'd have to do boring stuff like calculate the redshift of Cepheid variables, to calculate the speed of galactic motions and so on. And, I saw the writing on the wall back then. Of course, it wasn't for the same reasons as it is now. I didn't really have the alternative theories, but things have coalesced in a very interesting way as answers to questions not asked have presented themselves. So that's just the way it happens, folks. If you've got the gift of discernment, you may find many answers to questions not asked. I guess maybe that'll motivate you. So if there's something that you're planning on doing that you haven't done, go do it. Do one thing. Check out our playlists, by the way. There is a playlist for Do One Thing. And why is that? Because the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. So if you do one thing, you'll probably find yourself doing a second thing associated with that one thing, which will lead to a third thing and a fourth thing and so forth. So that's where we'll close this thing out. Thanks for tuning in, by the way, to the Smash News Network, least busted name in news. I've been your host, Dan, a.k.a. Smash-O-Mash. And I guess we'll close this thing out with, how about some full screen imagery of the closest star? So there you go. And here I go. Make sure you tune into tomorrow's daily space weather video. There might be more crazy stuff going on, and who knows, we may even put out more content tonight. If you haven't checked out our playlist, please do so. Press that like button, subscribe, share, etc. Leave us a comment if you haven't, even if you viewed the video in syndication. We do read all comments, even though we're not able to respond to all of them. Anyway, we'll be back again tomorrow, most likely, God willing. And in the meantime, may that solar wind be at your back. I'm going back to the bunker again. All the stupid stuff I heard on YouTube, my friends.